Welcome to Travel Marketeering Live. I'm Joshua Harrell. Good to have you here live. Good to have you if you are catching this on the replay, and a warm hello to everyone listening later in the audio podcast. If you didn't know, we are on the podcast platforms. It's called Travel Marketeering with Joshua Harrell. We just dropped out the live because it wasn't live at that point. So search that title wherever you listen, and you'll find every episode waiting for you. Let's get into today's episode. All right, you got on a call with a potential client. Maybe someone who messaged you about an Iceland family road trip, or a couple dreaming about a milestone anniversary cruise. And somewhere in the middle of that conversation, you froze like an opossum. You froze. You didn't know what to ask next. You didn't know how to steer them toward a real recommendation. And when they said, "Let us think about it," you said, "Of course, no problem." And that was that. Then you sat there afterward wondering what you missed, wondering if it was you. Was it you? Wondering if maybe you're just not built for the sales side of this business. I hear this all the time. And I want to tell you right now, I want you to listen to me right now. That is not a you problem. That is a script problem. And today we are fixing it for good. By the end of this hour, you are going to walk away with a complete discovery call script, your warm opener, 12 structured questions, a reframe that positions your recommendation with authority, a close that books the next step, and 5, hear me now, 5 plug and play phrases for the objections that trip you up most. 12 questions, 5 objection responses, 1 repeatable conversation. Let's build this together. As I said earlier, my name is Joshua Harrell, Chief Revenue Officer at World Via Travel Network. I gotta get my posture up here. I'm the author of several books on marketing and business. And guess what, guys? There's a new one coming out October 4th. Plug. Sorry, that was shameless. I know. I don't need to do that here. That is not the work that we're doing. Anyway, I've also had the experience of being a presenter on QVC, the shopping channel, which taught me more about communicating value in 60 seconds than almost anything else I have ever done. That work is directly why we're doing today's episode, because a discovery call at its core is showing a client what you can do for them in a compressed window of time. So this is the culmination of a lot of my life experience. I'm bringing it to you live, as I do on these Travel Marketeering Lives. But with all these experiences, working with our network of advisors, I'm the co-chair of CLIA's Trade Relations Committee. I get the honor of representing thousands and thousands of travel advisors and agency owners across the globe. So the industry is not just my job, it's my passion. Before we dive in, 3 quick things. I hit them every time. First, I want you to join our private Facebook group. Just search Travel Marketeers on Facebook and request to join. The worksheet that goes with today's show is pinned at the top of the group right now. I have confirmed it. It is called the New Advisor Discovery Call Script and Objection Toolkit. Okay. Now, if you go there and like last week and you're like, I can't find the where you download, it's in the same post where I pinned today's episode. So that's download it, print it if you can, and fill it in live with me today. If you cannot get to the group in the next 30 seconds, that is okay. Just take a piece of paper and I want you to number it 1 through 12 down the left, whatever your left is, the left-hand side, and you will be ready. It's not that complicated, guys. Second ask is, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our World Via Travel Network YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a live episode. Third, and finally, I'm going to just say follow at Travel Marketeering and Joshua Harrell on Instagram and TikTok for the stuff that happens in between the shows, right? I ask that every time. Believe me, people still say, what did you want me to do? So that's why I got to repeat it. All right. 2 weeks ago, we went deep on step 4 of the Thriving Travel Advisor Blueprint, the booking pathway. Ooh, excuse me, I got a little hiccup there. We mapped out the 5 stages: leads, conversations, proposals, bookings, and loyalty. We talked about the pipeline template, the 14-day and 5-day follow-up windows, and the stuck deal trigger. I see you, Cindy. I see you, Cindy. Hold on, I'm going to get to you. What we didn't do that day, because it deserved its own hours, or its own hour, was give you the actual words for stage 2. Stage 2 is conversations, discovery calls. The moment a warm lead is on the phone, and every choice you make either moves them toward a booking or lets them slip back into just thinking about it. So today we are inside that call. We are building the script, the questions, and the language that keeps the conversation moving forward, even when it gets a little uncomfortable. If you are new here, Travel Marketeers, drop TM in the chat as a greeting, a sign of agreement, or just a joyful noise. So go ahead and drop a TM in the chat right now so I can see who's in the room today. Now, Cindy, I already see you in the chat, and you said you can't find the form. I promise if you click on the pinned post about today's episode and you look in the description, there's 2 links, one for the YouTube and the other is how to download the form. All right. And if you can't, I'll go back into the Facebook group after the show and make sure you can get it. Again, you can get by with just a piece of paper and a number 1 through 12, and we can work through that together, but I'll make sure the download is available for you. So while you are dropping your TM, I want to ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel on a discovery call right now? 1 means you are winging it completely. 10 means you have a system that works every single time. So I want you to drop your number in the chat. All right. Here's what I want you to think about while you type that number. Most new advisors treat the discovery call like a job interview, where the client is interviewing them. They answer questions, they try to seem knowledgeable, they hope the client likes them enough to book. That is backwards. The discovery call is your interview. You are finding out whether this is the right client for your best work. Whether the trip they want is one you can execute at the level that makes them tell 3 friends about you afterward. Whether their timeline, their budget, and their expectations line up with what you actually do. You are deciding whether you can serve them well. And a script is not a crutch. It is a framework that frees you to actually listen instead of frantically trying to figure out what to say next. When you have a script, your brain stops running, what do I say now? What do I say now? And starts running, what did they just tell me? And how does that shape my recommendation? That is the shift. That is the entire game. Now I'm going to do something that I love to do. I'm going to pop over to the chat because I hear it's popping over in the chat. Let me get my little screen going here. Oh, Michael, good to see you. Happy Saturday back at you and a TM. Melissa, good morning. Cindy, I'm glad you love the music. You can get that on iTunes now, Cindy. Just look up Joshua Harrell. I'm just saying, plug. Erica Worldvia is in the house. I have spent so many weeks with her recently, but I'm glad that she is back home and she's still able to join us for our show this morning. Christine, good morning, TM. Christine asks, is the purple mic new or did I just miss it? It's fairly new. I'm thinking you maybe haven't tuned in the last few weeks. I'm not going to judge you, Christine. But yes, the purple mic, could there be more purple in my world? Purple rain, purple rain. All right, there we go. I haven't had a joyful noise like that. All right, Selena, good morning, TM. Lynette said, I would totally brag if I wrote a book. All right, thank you. You give me permission. Let's see. Lisa, TM, Melissa, TM, Denise, TM, back at you. Now we're going to start getting into these ratings, whether how confident you feel about your discovery call. 1 being you completely you're winging it, and 10, you've got a system and it doesn't fail you. So Denise says she's a 3. Darlene says 1. Cindy, 7. Ooh. Our special village, I don't know your first name, sorry. A 3. Solara Journeys, a 4. Christine said, I'm a 1. I'm starting from scratch here, and that is A-okay. Let's see. She said, Europe river cruise and school start has me off my game. That is okay. And Lynette said she is a 5. I love it. Well, I love all the scores, I have to say. So I see a lot of you sitting. I'm going to say a lot of you, just the broader global audience who tunes into Travel Marketeering Live. I see a lot of you sitting between 3 and 6 today, which is exactly the range this script was built for. Whether you landed, or sorry, not whether, wherever, I am really losing my words today. Sorry, guys. Wherever you landed, here we go. I'm taking a beat. Wherever you landed, I promise, I don't remember Scout's honor here. I promise by the end of this hour, you are going to feel at least 2 points better. At least 2 points better, okay? So let's talk about why this happens, right? Why like you freeze on calls for one of three reasons. And I want you to write these down because knowing why you freeze is the first step to never freezing again. You hear me? I don't think this is a no freeze zone. And right now I'm in my garage in Atlanta in the summer. So I'm not, I almost am looking for a little freezing weather. No, I'm not. No. The first step to never freezing again, let's know why. So reason one, you don't have a clear opening. You don't know exactly how to start. So you start with something vague like, so tell me about the trip you're thinking about. Does that sound familiar, guys? That puts all the burden on the client. And it sounds like you've never done this before. I bet you weren't ready for that little dose of reality today. So think about it. Let that play through your mind. Now, the second reason, you don't have a system for moving from questions to recommendation. You ask some questions, you get some answers, and then there's an awkward gap where you're supposed to transition into presenting something, but you're not sure how. You end up saying something like, great, let me put something together and send it over. And the moment dies right there. Let's give a moment of grace for the moment dying right there. All right, now the third reason, you don't have language for objections. When someone says, we need to think about it, your brain blanks. You don't want to be pushy, so you just say, of course, take your time. And you hang up, hoping they call back. And here's the hard truth. They almost never do. So every single one of those freezes has a fix. And the fix is a script you practice until it becomes a conversation. All right? And I'm going to give you a little pro tip here because I'm all about the AI. I'm all about the AI. I am so AI, and that is not short for all inclusive. No, I want to give you a pro tip that is going to, I promise you, just go with me on this. This is truly a pro tip. I want you to run your discovery call script through an AI tool before your next real call. Tell it you're a travel advisor. Paste your questions and ask it to role play as a client planning a Croatian coastal sailing trip or a Peru bucket list itinerary or a South Africa family safari. The objections it throws at you will feel surprisingly real. And when the actual client says those same objections, your brain will have already been there. Boom. Think about that. Your brain has already experienced these objections. These aren't surprises. It's already been there. It's familiar. Now, here's where it gets interesting. All three of those freezes, the opening, the transition, the objection, they all come down to the same thing. They come down to not having pre-decided what you will say. You would never walk into a supplier appointment without knowing what you were going to ask. You would never sit down at a family dinner to talk about money without knowing what you wanted to say. Why would you get on a call with someone who wants to give you thousands of dollars of business without pre-deciding the moves? You wouldn't. You just haven't had a framework yet. And today, you get one. All right? So I'm going to bring in my British yeah girl.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah. Can I get a TM if you're ready to get that framework? So let's get into it. Here is how the call opens. Okay, this is the warm-up. The first 60 seconds of the call, okay? You are not jumping straight into questions. You are making the client feel like they called a real person, not a booking machine, okay? I love how in Travel Marketeering Live, I get to pretend like I'm an actor. I feel like I need someone else with me so I can do role playing. So instead, I'm just going to act this out. All right, so I want you to try this. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect with me today. I've been looking forward to this conversation. Before we get into the details of the trip, I just want to take a few minutes to understand what you're hoping for so I can make sure what I put together for you is actually a good fit. Is that okay? That last question, is that okay, is deceptively powerful, okay? It frames everything that follows as a collaborative conversation, not an interrogation. 98% of people will say, yes, of course. And the moment they say yes, you have their permission to lead. You have shifted from vendor to trusted expert in one sentence. All right? That is powerful. So once you've set that frame, you move into the first discovery section. Okay? So this is where I'm going to get into the 12 questions. Okay, so I'm going to break them up into these different areas. All right, so if you don't have the download yet, and I see a few of you still looking for the link, it's okay. You can just write this down on a piece of paper right now. All right, this is we're going to fill the piece of paper in, just number it 1 through 12. Okay, so question 1: who will be traveling with you? It's pretty obvious, right? Question 2: what are the ages of everyone in the group, especially if there are kids? Question 3: are there any physical considerations, mobility, dietary, health related, that should shape how I plan this? Okay, so I'm going to point this out to you. You notice I didn't ask, are there any special needs? That phrase makes people defensive. Physical considerations is warmer and way more practical. And I'm going to give you a real example of how this plays out. An advisor told me about a call where a couple inquired about Hawaii. Okay, she asked the mobility question, and the wife mentioned that her husband uses a cane and can't do long hikes. That single answer completely changed the trip. Accessible Hawaii is a different itinerary than Adventure Hawaii. She ended up booking a luxury resort experience with wheelchair accessible excursions, and they were thrilled. That detail only came out because she asked. Question 3 did the work. See, I try to give you some examples, guys. I hope you like them because I'm telling you, I am a professional clue picker-upper and sharer. I see the clues and I have to share them with you. All right. So now, once you know who's traveling, you move into what they want. Okay. This is where most advisors make a maybe they make a wrong turn in Albuquerque. Okay. They ask, what kind of trip are you thinking? And then sit in silence while the client describes something vague and unbookable. Has this happened to you? If this has happened to you, drop it in the chat because there are other people who are watching this show right now who are saying that never happens. Yes, it does. It does. So instead of the vague, unbookable, instead you ask structured questions. Okay? So here's now 4 on our list. What is drawing you to this destination or style of trip right now? Okay. Number 5, when you picture the trip going perfectly, what are you doing? What does that what does that look like? Okay. Question 6, what has worked really well on past trips that you'd want more of? Doesn't that sound good? Number 7, what would you want to do differently that you've that you've done before? So what would you want to do differently than what you've done before? I kind of said that in a weird way. Okay. So that's where you're drawing out the experiences that someone has already had. So it gives you that window to make some to plus it a little bit, right? So these are not small talk questions. They are diagnostic questions that reveal what the client actually values, not just what they think they want. Question 5 is the one that surprises people. When you ask someone to picture the trip going perfectly, they stop giving you a sanitized version. They give you the real version. They start telling you about the sunset dinner on the terrace or the moment their kids finally get off their phones and look at the water. That is the trip you sell them because that is the trip they actually want. And question 7, like I said, what would you do? What would you want to do differently? That is gold. That is where the mistakes on past trips become the boundary conditions for this one. Okay. They tell you what to avoid. That is worth more than any brochure. The answer to these 7 questions tell you how to position the trip back to them. And we're going to talk about how to do that in a few minutes. All right. But I do want to get over, I want to get to the chat. I can see if you see me looking around, I can see the chat going on. So before we go further, I want to ask you something. What is the question you find hardest to ask on a discovery call? Is it the budget question? the timeline question, or something else entirely? I want you to drop that in the chat. I want to see what's tripping people up the most, okay? Most people, when I ask this in a room, a large group, say some version of the budget question, and that makes complete sense. We have been conditioned to believe that talking about money is impolite. But here is the reframe I want you to carry into every call. So if you were Pinocchio, I'm Jiminy Cricket. Okay, so you got a little Joshua on your shoulder here. So I want you to carry little Joshua on your shoulder into every call. Okay, and it's a dose of reality here. If you don't know the budget, you can't serve the client. You are not asking about money because you are greedy, okay? You are asking about money because you are a professional who needs accurate information to do your job. A doctor asks about your insurance before they schedule a procedure. A contractor asks about your budget before they draw up plans. A financial advisor asks about your income before they recommend a portfolio. Nobody thinks those professionals are being rude. They are asking because it is impossible to do their job well without that information. They can't. You are exactly the same. So now here are 3 budget signal questions that I recommend. Okay, so this is now we're adding to the 12. Okay, so question 8: have you set a budget range for this trip, or are you still figuring that out? That phrasing is important. Are you still figuring that out? Gives them an easy out if they haven't, without making them feel embarrassed. It normalizes not knowing. Question 9: are you thinking per person or for the group as a whole? That question alone can save enormous confusion. A family that says, we're thinking around 10,000 might mean 10,000 total or 10,000 each. Those are wildly different trips. Wildly different trips. Question 10: is this trip budget flexible? Is it budget flexible if the right experiences come along, or do you need to stay close to a specific number? That tells you whether you have room to present a premium option or whether you need to stay disciplined at a price point. Okay, now we get into timeline. Question 11: when are you hoping to travel? Okay. Question 12, here it is. Is that date firm, or could it shift by a few weeks depending on availability? That second half of question 12, could it shift, is enormous. Because when someone tells you the second week of June, and you know the property they'd love is fully booked but has openings the first week of June, you now have permission to bring that up. Without asking, you just tell them, sorry, sold out. And finally, the decision maker question, which is the one advisors skip and they regret. you can type regret in the chat if you've been here, okay? Is there anyone else who needs to be a part of finalizing this? A magnificent other, a family member, a business partner? Do not assume. I have seen advisors spend 2 hours building a proposal for a multi-generational trip only to find out that the person they talked to hadn't run the budget by their spouse yet. Or worse, they get to the close and the person on the call says, "Let me talk this over with my wife." And now you've done all that work and the deal is sitting in someone else's inbox that you have never met. Ask up front. It saves everyone. That is 12 questions, a warm-up plus 12. The whole first half of your call is now scripted, okay? So I'm going to pop over to the chat. Like I said, let's see what you guys have to say. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Oh, I got some TMs there. Oh, I'm glad that you guys are getting the download. If that's gonna be a challenge every week, I need to figure out a better way to do this. All right. So Christine said, yeah, that question, sorry. Yeah, that question can make a huge difference, and honestly, it could even change the destination entirely. Lots of Europe is really hard for those with mobility limitations. So she's talking about the question that's assessing, whether there are some things that we need to some considerations that we need to make when we're putting it together. Let's see. So in terms of the questions that are hardest, or the discussions probably, budget and timeline for Lynette, Solara's budget, I'm booking now, Darlene, budget, Christine said, budget, I don't have an issue with, I don't have an issue with, but asking for their business is the one I have a hard time with. Let's see, Lisa, on different news altogether, Lisa said got her first client and scared to death. She's been very back and forth. So Lisa, congratulations. I'm gonna give you and I'm sure that many of your fellow travel marketeers would say that first client, you're going to learn so much from them. We are there with you in spirit. And you know what? Just remember, you are the professional here. And part of the back and forth, you definitely hold up a mirror to yourself, right? What could you do differently, or how can you prevent some of this back and forth? But another part of the back and forth that comes, especially with your first client, or when you're a newer advisor, is your client doesn't know what they want, and they don't know how to work with you. And that is a very common obstacle for new advisors. That's why in travel marketeering, we constantly talk about systems. And like today, we're talking about a script, because that's where we take all this information from people who have been there and done it before and give you the systems that you can put into play. So we're with you. But I bet you there are many people listening or watching right now that when you say your first client and you're going back and forth, that is something they have lived, and you will be, I know you're going to make it through, and I know you are going to excel beyond it. All right. So kind of getting back into what I was asking, I bet most of you were going to say the budget question. It's the one that stops advisors more than any other. And now you have 3 ways to ask it that don't feel awkward. Okay, so I want you to save those 3 questions somewhere you can see them before your next call. And a tip that I have just in general when we're talking about scripting, or deciding your moves, it sounds so old school to have a piece of paper where you look and just kind of run through your questions, but it actually is. It's a confidence trick. It truly is a confidence trick. If even though you may now know these questions, or you begin to know these questions like the back of your hand, just mentally preparing for that call by reading them out loud, I think you would be amazed at how, again, your brain has already been there. Even if you did a little back and forth with objections, with AI, you've had a conversation with a friend, you've worked through these things. When your brain has already processed something before, it 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 really signals confidence, and confidence wins in so many uh, situations. So keeping us moving, here is where most advisors drop the call. They've asked great questions, they've got solid answers, and then they say, great, let me put something together and I'll send it over, and they hang up. That is leaving the most powerful moment on the table. Okay. The reframe is the thing that separates an advisor from a search engine. A search engine, think about it, takes your input and returns options. An advisor takes your input and reframes what you actually need. Here's what the reframe sounds like. Okay, based on everything you've told me, here's what I'm hearing. Then you reflect their words back to them, but organized, not verbatim, organized. Okay? You're celebrating a milestone anniversary, and what matters most to you is feeling like you're completely taken care of. No planning, no stress. You mentioned the Mediterranean came up, and that an ocean cruise felt appealing because you'd only have to unpack once. You're open to something that feels elevated without being over the top formal. Is that right? Okay. When they say yes, and they almost always say yes because you're using their own words, you have 2 things. Okay. 1, you have confirmation that you listened. So important. 2, you have permission to make a recommendation. Based on that, here's what I'd suggest. And you lead with 1 recommendation, not 3 options. 1 recommendation positioned confidently. So it sounds like this. I'd suggest a Mediterranean cruise on a premium line. This episode is not sponsored by anyone, so I didn't want to drop anyone's any partner in there. Just kidding. I'd suggest a Mediterranean cruise on a premium line, 7 nights, a Greek Isles itinerary, sailing to Santorini, Mykonos, and Crete. The cabin category I have in mind gives you a private veranda and access to the access to specialty dining you mentioned. Okay? It fits your milestone anniversary feel. It handles everything, and the pricing lands right at the top end of the range you gave me, which I think will feel worth it once you see what's included. That is confident. That is a confident, specific recommendation. It does not sound like, here's the catalog, right? It sounds like an expert who listened and then led. And here's why this matters. When you give 3 options, the client's brain switches from, am I going to book, to which one is best. That has a name, all right? And it's a name that you do not want in your vicinity. That is decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is the #1 killer of proposals. When you give one strong recommendation, their brain stays on, am I going to book this? And your job in the next 30 seconds is to make sure the answer is yes. Practice the reframe. Practice it out loud. Because when the moment comes on a real call, you want that language to feel like something you already own. It's already, it's a part of you. It's a part of your DNA, okay? You want this script, you want this language to feel like it lives inside you. It will make so many things so much smoother for you. And I've been trying to explain as we've gone along how all these things sync up, make the client feel good, make you feel powerful. So I'm hoping you're seeing this. If you are seeing this, can I get a TM in the chat? I love my TMs. All right, so now let's get into the closing. Okay, this is sales. This is pretty intense sales enablement structure. This episode is all about the sales. So for the closing, there are 2 kinds of closes you'll use most often. Okay. The first is the verbal close, where the client is ready. Based on what we've talked about, are you ready for me to put together a formal proposal and go over the details? That is a direct, clean ask. It does not require them to say, yes, I'll book it right now. It just moves them to the next concrete step. And that's the whole point. Every close moves the deal one step further down the pathway. The second is the follow-up frame close, when they need more time. Okay? So hear me now, because every time you go to close, it's not going to be a done and dusted. Okay? There's going to be time when they need to think about stuff. So here's these are the words I'm giving you. All right. So I was going to start. I'm not an actor, so I didn't quite go into what I was going to say. All right. So here, scene. I'm going to put together a custom proposal and send it to you by Thursday. When that lands in your inbox, would Tuesday at 11 work for a 15-minute call to walk through it together? Okay? You are not following up. An email that says just following up. You are booking a follow-up call before you hang up, okay? That is the difference between a proposal that converts and a proposal that gets ignored. Think about it. When you send a proposal cold and hope they open it, you are competing with every email in their inbox. Sephora, Ulta, those are the ones that kind of occupy my inbox. But I'm just saying, you're competing with all of that. When you send a proposal that has a scheduled review call attached, you are creating an appointment, and people show up to appointments. 2 closes, 1 direct, 1 framed. Both put a next step on the calendar before the call ends. Okay? Think about that. What we're talking about here in the discovery call isn't book it now. It's just getting you're following the booking pathway. You're getting things to move along to the next step. And both of those options give you the next step. All right, so let's talk about everybody's favorite topic. Let's talk about objections. I object. You are overruled. All right. Sitting here by myself, I could maybe I should do an after show of just me having a conversation with myself. I don't know. Anyway. All right. So objections, because even after the best discovery call, clients say things that derail the booking. Okay. So here are 5 plug and play phrases. And I mean plug and play. You memorize these the way a musician memorizes scales. Okay. Do you feel me? Are you going to do it?
Yeah, go!
All right. Objection 1. We need to think about it. Here's your response. Totally understand. What part of it is giving you pause? I'd rather address it now than have you wrestle with it on your own. All right. Here's objection 2. It's too expensive. Here's your response. I hear that. Is it the total, or is it the monthly? Is the monthly impact the issue? A lot of my clients find that breaking it down changes how it feels. Would it help to look at a deposit and payment plan structure? Okay. Objection 3. We can book this ourselves. Woo! I know that's got some of you fired up right now. I can feel it in Atlanta. I can feel you on fire right now. We can book this ourselves. Here's your response. You absolutely can. And for simple bookings, that works fine. What I do is handle the sourcing, the vetting, the pre-negotiations, and the problem solving if anything goes sideways. You're not paying for a booking. You're paying for someone who has done this dozens of times. Bet you weren't expecting me to give you that one, were you? Of course, yeah. Book that on your own. But that's not what I do. That's not what you're paying for when you hire Joshua. That is not what you get. All right. So, objection 4. Wait for it. Let me check with my magnificent other. Here's your response. Of course. Would it make sense to include them in our next conversation? I can walk you both through the recommendation at the same time so nothing gets lost in translation. All right? Also, I say magnificent other, just so you know, because my algebra teacher I met after I graduated, and she asked me if I had a magnificent other. So I was probably 19 at the time. And I remember that having such an impression on me. It felt so elevated. So feel free to steal it. Copyright Joshua Harrell. Anyway, I need to get serious. You guys got things to do. You got to do some discovery calls here. All right. So objection 5. What makes you different from a competitor? All right. Here's your response. Great question. Honestly, you should compare. What I can tell you is that I specialize in the kind of trip you're describing. I stay with you from first call to last day, and my clients tell me the value shows up when something goes wrong because I'm the one who fixes it, not a chatbot. Does that match what you're looking for? None of these are manipulative. All of them are honest. They just keep the conversation open instead of letting it die. All right. Before we go, I want to ask you something. Based on everything we covered today, the 12 questions, the reframe, the close, the 5 objection responses, what is the one thing? That's 2. What is the one thing you're going to apply in the next 7 days? Drop that in the chat, okay? This is always where I love this part of the show. So while you're typing, let me tell you the one thing that makes all of this work. Practice. Not on a real client, not yet. Practice on a friend who doesn't know anything about travel, and I know we got them. So tell them you're going to pretend they're a client planning a Vietnam street food tour or a Portugal wine country trip or an Alaska expedition cruise. Then run through the script, all 12 questions, the reframe, the one confident recommendation, the close. The first time, it will feel mechanical. Trust me. The third time, it will start to feel like a conversation. By the 10th time, it will feel like you. That is when the script stops being a script and becomes your natural way of working. And when you get there, when the framework has become instinct, you will notice something. The freezes stop. The awkward pauses stop. The let me think about it responses drop dramatically because you are no longer running 2 conversations at once. You're just having one. All right, let's pop to the chat, see what you guys have to say. All right, so Cindy said, I'm going to follow your script more closely than just winging it.
Yeah, go.
There you go. Lynette said, I'm going to type up this script and practice. I love it. Solaris Journey said, going to practice with AI so I get more practice. And guys, I'm telling you, that right there for many, many things. If you teach your AI to do some role playing with you, it really can get creative. I'm just saying, it's a thing. Let's see. Christine said, printing out the discovery questions and keeping it on my desk. And let's see, Wayfinder Concierge said, practicing a clear opener, discovery questions, and overcoming objections with my magnificent other who happens to be in sales and will play the perfect client. Got it. I love it. And thank your magnificent other for me. I love it. No, great to see you guys in there. So every single one of you has a plan now. So save these answers that you gave me, or maybe you were thinking about. So you'll see it Monday morning, or whatever your first day of the week. Okay, that is the whole game. Okay. Now, let's land the plane. All right. Number one, the warm up frame sets the tone before you ask a single question. I just want to understand what you're hoping for. Is the sentence that opens everything. Number two, 12 structured questions take you from who's traveling to what they want to what to budget, what they want, what their budget signals, sorry, to timeline to the decision maker. Okay? They are not optional. All right? These questions need to be asked. Number three, the reframe is how you position your recommendation. Redirect their words back, organized, and ask, is that right? Number four, one confident recommendation beats three options. You are an expert who listened and then led, not a search engine returning results. Number five, the close books the next step before you hang up. A proposal without a follow up call is a proposal that goes cold. And the five objection responses are not scripts, they are conversation openers that keep the relationship moving forward. So grab the worksheet from the pinned post there on the Travel Marketeers private Facebook group. It has all 12 questions, the reframe script, the close language, and all 5 objection responses in one printable document. And guys, this is the second week that you've had a hard time finding it, so I'm gonna make sure that I post just the form by itself, not hide it in the post. So I appreciate you tracking it down and sharing it with each other. While you're in the Facebook group, you can also grab your copy of the Thriving Travel Advisor Blueprint there. That is the basis of everything for this show. Follow Travel Marketeering and Joshua Harrell on Instagram and TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And now here's what I want to tell you. I'm excited about that. Sorry. Next Saturday, August 29th at noon Eastern is the last episode of Travel Marketeering Live before we go on a short hiatus for World 26 in Cancun, okay? So if you are going to World 26, come find me. I want to meet you. Tell me you're a travel marketeer, and that's enough. That's enough. And next week's episode is a big one. I have a very special guest joining me, a good friend of mine, Charles Sylvia. Charles is the Vice President of Industry and Trade Relations at CLIA, the Cruise Lines International Association. And he has one of the most phenomenal travel agent to industry leader stories I know. Okay? So Charles started his career as a frontline agent at a brick and mortar travel agency near Cape Cod. He spent a decade selling group cruises. He built the at sea division for a major corporate events agency from the ground up. And today, he champions the interests of more than 32,000 travel agency owners and agents across North America. His story is exactly why I refer to CLIA every time we talk about step 2 of the Thriving Travel Advisor Blueprint, become known for travel. Because credentials, relationships, and industry standing are step 2 signals, and Charles' path is the model. Okay? We are going to unpack his story, and I promise you it's going to be fun. Okay? August 29th, noon Eastern. Then we go on hiatus during World 26. The show returns Saturday, October 3rd. So mark those 2 dates. Until then, I'm Joshua Harrell. This has been Travel Marketeering Live. Go make your next discovery call the best one you've ever had. I'll see you real soon, travel marketeers. TM.